All right, welcome back, everybody that was here before, and welcome to all those that weren't here before. I see a crowd in the back that looks like it might be the Board of Elections. So if you would like to come forward, we'd love to hear from you. Well, not all of me, I just meant.
Oh, well, this was the entire staff. There's the rest of the
Alright.
staff.
And Sam.
Insane.
To get started, if you could all just introduce yourselves, and that's what we're doing for the folks at home.
Sam, you want to start?
Right, Sam Zafuto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Brian Abram, Election Commissioner.
Amanda Fox. Carrie Reinhardt.
Luz Torres, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're pretty much doing what we've done every year, and I know you've been around forever, so
This is it for me.
you, what do you mean?
My last budget.
What do you mean?
I'm ending.
So we're going to eliminate your position as
What do you mean?
retirement benefit?
I will no longer be commissioner at the end of it.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
All right. So you can start with your FTEs and move forward from there,
That's
unless
tab
you got
41
something.
in the book.
Oh, yeah, tab 41. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, so for Board of Elections, obviously, they're a little bit different than other county departments. Their FTEs fluctuate during election years, so this is a reduction in FTE in a non-primary primary year, so it's a reduction in cost basically year to year. You'll see as we go into a primary year, that this will go up and down. It kind of fluctuates more than any other county department. I've worked for almost all of them at this point. This is the only one like this I've run across, so. So that's the reason you're seeing a reduction in FTEs to reduce the cost basically on the inspection workers for 2025.
Okay.
And then going down, you'll see the same, we are reducing costs through the contractual line as well. That is the same intention. Their budget will fluctuate based on the primary years and non-primary, so it's a reduction this year. Costs would fluctuate as the election cycle happens.
And just to clarify, the primary year that is obviously not a presidential primary year, which will be the next three, that's where you'll see a significant increase. And then, of course, in that fourth year, with the additional primary and 9 early days of voting, along with all the other stress that comes with opening poll sites and hiring people, even if it's a low or negative kind of turnout, we still have the base costs that have to happen. But when you're in a year that is the potential for two, you obviously can cut costs, and that's what you'll be seeing across the board here in our budget for 2025.
They talked about it all, maybe just have a mail-in primary votes. I saw some of the attendance at some of the poll sites for the presidential primary, and it was not impressive, the numbers that were coming. It wasn't a negative number, but it was.
No, the total turnout, I believe, was 6% between the two major parties for the presidential.
Right.
As far as using only mail-in, that is not an option, and that's nothing that New York State has considered at this time. They did expand the option to have a mail-in ballot. It's sort of a derivative of the absentee ballot. The only difference between the two is one doesn't need a reason. So if
You still have a poll site.
you'll still have the limited amount of, well, maximum amount of poll sites if it's presidential. If it's a primary that has a major party, the two major parties, you can then consolidate, but to anything less than that, you have to be full go and open at every one of the sites.
All right. That was easy.
I don't know if you have any questions on the line detail, but we'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Can't let them off this easy.
Sure you can.
So the additional sites that were started a number of years ago and early voting, and I know that's not new to this budget, but that did that create much more expense to the department?
If you're talking about the modification of moving one of the sites out of our office area to like the Carlson Center for this year,
Yeah.
absolutely yes.
Okay,
You only have to do that once every 4 years based on the volume, obviously the construction, and anything to do with providing voting here at our campus. There's just no way you could handle the kind of individuals and the amount of individuals, I should say, to come to vote. Every other year, it should revert back to the board. The additional savings are, we do not hire additional staff. We have our own internal staff handle every voter. And then we extend their hours as necessary for the weekends or anything past 4:30. But the costs are limited. If you go to the Carlson Community Center, you have 4 individuals or 6 individuals. Obviously, you can't use your people you're already currently paying. So yeah, there's a huge increase when you provide those additional options. Every other election that isn't going to require that, we will take 3 or 4 parking spots and basically accommodate the customers without a huge additional cost.
and this is probably something I should know and not really a budget question. Are those early sites, is that something we do voluntarily, is that mandated by New York State to offer?
It's mandated by a certain percentage of the amount of individuals that are registered voters. We are required to be in the largest municipality, which is City of Jamestown, 100% of the time. So that's a fixed one. And then after that, based on a sliding scale or a matrix, we are required to have 2. We've had the additional third one because of the volume that early voting has created and the waiting times. There is a requirement to not have waiting times over a certain amount of minutes, if you will. So we do provide additional early voting sites than are required by New York State law at this point.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have a couple personnel questions. One, just looking at the detail, it seems like the overtime pay's been a little like this. You're decreasing it this year. And then my other general question is employees, and of your 11 positions, how many are filled, and are you still lacking, I guess when you do have poll sites, are you still lacking workers too? So I just am trying to overall see if you have had a hard time recruiting, if you have the positions filled, if there's workforce out there, and if you could just specifically answer that overtime one.
All right, that's, I'll take them in little bites. The overtime, again, is based on the year. This year is huge. It's gonna be a ton of overtime. Staff here have already put in a ton, they're gonna put in a ton more.
Sure.
The volume of machines that are dispatched, the amount of individuals you have to hire, the amount of people, say 75% of the people will vote this election. Last November 2023, it was like 28%. So the amount of work that people like Amanda and Carrie do takes that much more. I mean, it's just that much more required support, if you will. So the overtime in 2024 would be significantly higher than what will be demanded in 2023. Second part of your thing, are we filled? Yes. Each side of the aisle has 3 full-time employees. They balance each other off, and they basically work in a bipartisan method on every aspect of their jobs. They basically mirror each other. Our 2 financial people, based on the fact that you have to have 2. Registration of voters, these 2 take care of that. And we set it up that way where it's equal partnerships for every aspect of the voting process. The biggest concern we have and are going to continue to have, and we're okay now, we'll make it through the year, sounds like, is recruiting individuals to work at the poll sites. That will be the biggest hurdle for every county's Board of Elections, where you may not have enough warm bodies to open up the poll site at 6 a.m. That storm is coming. I'm hoping it will not be Chautauqua County this year. It certainly will not be Chautauqua County. We trained over 400 and some odd people. We are in a good spot where there's enough, and we'll call it volunteerism, but we do pay them, to provide voting support. Other counties, I don't think will be that fortunate, and maybe this is the year, we hope not, but certainly in the near future, finding people that are willing to do this is a critical issue, and New York State refuses to adjust and or address it. And At this point, it's just a matter, I guess, once the crisis hits, maybe they will respond. But at this point, they're not interested in doing anything necessary, I think, to incorporate more individuals that were willing to take the day off or to commit the amount of time that's necessary.
I don't know the laws or rules, so it's more of a law question. But what if you just didn't have the people to have a site open and you just closed it?
That's not an option.
But it can be an option if you don't have the people, right? And so the state, is that what's gonna eventually force the hand?
Yes.
And
They'll-
would they fine you? What do they do? And you could just say, look, we don't have the people.
All I can tell you is even during 9/11, when we were hit at the towers, they continued voting in New York City and in New York State. That was an election day. You don't shut down voting and you vote floods, hurricane. I've seen everything. I've seen people voting in parking lots. I've seen people doing everything humanly possible to continue the process. There's never been a time, and I think labor is going to be the next option, obviously, that's going to cut it down, where they've stopped voting. Finally, the governor did shut down after 9/11, after the second tower was hit. But the emphasis on continuing the process and being open at 6 a.m. and closing at 9 p.m., it's rock solid. We don't have an option. But again, if you don't have the people to do it, like you had mentioned, I'm not sure what they're expecting, but I can tell you right now, there will be a crisis in this state within, I'm going to say, a year, where a poll site can't open because there's not enough humans that are there to, officiate the election. So maybe they'll fix it at that point. They certainly aren't listening to what we have to say as far as crisis is coming. And it pretty much was here earlier in the year. We created a commercial. If you ever want to go onto our website, we actually had in-house commercial created by Justin Gould. Turned out really nice, and it was a recruitment tool to say to people, we are shorthanded, come on out and help us. So we're doing preemptive strikes. We educate, we beg. We're going to go to schools. Luce is leading us into Fredonia and Dunkirk to have the students trained and at the poll sites in the northern part of Chautauqua County. We've incorporated probably at least 30 or 40 kids every year. We're going to continue this year. As we've done everything creative, it still comes down to that day's coming.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, do you have to work 6 to 9?
The law states that you'd have to have a minimum staffing from 6 to 9. Yes, there are split shifts, and we have incorporated them for, there's 2 shifts that are in our system, like 7, I'm just throwing some numbers out, 7 to 2 and 1 to 8. You do have that option, but you are required to have a certain amount of staff there the entire 15 hours of open voting.
But let's just say I was willing to work for the Board of Elections, which I can do as long as I'm not in my district, I believe.
No, you're disqualified because you're an elected official.
Is that
Even
the same
if
answer I got 2 years ago?
it should have been, if
I
you're an
don't think it
elect,
does. Because we asked that question. You must have researched.
if he's an elected official, we can't put him as a poll worker. Now,
Okay,
he could
let's-
do other services for us, but he could not put people in and out of the book and hand them a
Right.
ballot.
So let's assume I'm not a legislator.
Mhm.
Would you be allowed to have people go and open it at 6 o'clock
Yes.
and leave at 9 o'clock?
Yes.
I
but
mean,
you-
just to
you-
reduce that
you-
early morning,
Yeah, the problem is there is setup, and there's a lot of things that need to be accomplished before the 6 a.m. time. And the, what's that?
You guys start at 3
yeah,
o'clock.
and that's fine too. I'm just,
But you have to have individuals who open the machine, have to also sign at the very end and close the machine. And closing the machine takes time, and opening the machine takes time. So while that 6 to 9 is kind of a rigid schedule, you still would have to have the same individuals who verified that it was 0 at the very beginning, have to verify at the very end that they're the ones closing the machine and everything's
so just to
valid.
be a little goofier here. So I'm not an elected official, I'm trained, I'm certified. Luz says I'm the best thing that's ever come across the table here as far as a poll worker. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's very nice of you.
Absolutely.
And I can work 3 to 9. I'll get there at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'll come back at 8 o'clock at night.
Can I just add something? That
Sure.
when we do that, when we do these split shifts, that just requires us to schedule more people because we still have to have that minimum amount of bipartisan workers there. So if I have to have 12 people and 6 of them want split shifts, then I need to find 6 more people to work the other split.
Well, I'm trying to make this simple, and you guys are just,
No,
I know,
let
I
me-
do apologize, but
No.
I just wanted to
No, I'm-
clarify that.
No, Bob, here's the simple solution, and I researched this and I presented this to the state. We are the longest election day in the entire country. We also have 72 hours of early voting. We also have absentee and mail-in ballot applications, ideas, whatever you want to do with them. We've made it extremely easy to vote. We need to shorten election day, an hour in the morning and an hour at the end of the night. We go from, what I believe is the smartest thing to do would be to go from 7 to 8. And that way, you have an individual who's not facing a 16-hour day. You have individuals who are facing like a 14-hour day. And I think that's a huge difference to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be there by 5 to open at 6. You roll that forward an hour and you close it down earlier an hour. I think it's the most sensible thing to keep people interested and keep your labor force where you're going to have standards about what you need to create the job and get it done. It's fallen on deaf ears. I tried to present it 3 times, and it's, I believe, a valid at least opportunity, but nobody even wants to hear me say the words. They don't even let me actually get that done with that sentence. It's not trying to suppress the vote. It's not trying to do anything other than see a problem and try to fix it prior to.
you're trying to sustain.
Yes, and again, we gave away or provided, we didn't give away, 72 hours of early voting to give back 2 hours on election day to help us keep individuals that are willing to come out and help us, I think is a great trade. But at this point, it's fallen just like off the cliff. It's not anything that's ever been considered. That plus making this a non-student day. I mean, if you made voting a non-student day, we could go into every school there is. We could then not have to have the security issues and the overlap with the students, with us. It's a no-brainer, in my opinion, to make it a non-student day. But for some reason, it never goes anywhere for our legislature to actually accomplish something that would help the boards go into school districts, use their cafeteria, use their gymnasium, be more efficient with a lot of the poll sites, combine, consolidate, whatever you want to call it. That's another one that I think is an easy lift kind of adjustment. I've been at it for 16 years and I've gone nowhere. So as far as the common sense legislation, it isn't happening. We just get legislation thrown at us that provides more labor requirements and more stipulations for us, but nothing that really, in our opinion, can help. So,
Well, maybe when they realize the only way they're gonna be able to sustain this thing
is
is to make the changes, then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, when I'm done doing this,
gonna
you
come
might see me.
That'd be great. And if you want a 4-hour shift, and that's all you can work in the morning, or 4 hours in the afternoon, we will, in the evening, we will take you, we just find someone to, because we do always need someone to give
Put
breaks
me
for
where
the
the
staff.
You're working
turnout's
16
low.
hours.
Yeah.
Put me where the turnout's low, because everybody's gonna wanna come and see me.
Sounds great. I'll take you.
Have fun in Clymer.
Town of Dunkirk, Clymer. Yeah, we have a few.
That's in Pennsylvania, isn't it?
No, it's this close.
Nope, it's not.
No, it's all good. So, any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a financial question, since this is a
We don't have
budget
time
hearing.
for that.
It looks like your contractual software is going up by 18%, $10,000. Why is that?
There's only one, well, there's 3 true data software packages here in New York State. The state, this is kind of a well-kept secret, that state is trying to create their own software, but at this point, it's not ready to be rolled out. Our software provider costs have gone up roughly between 10 and 20% over the past, I'm going to say 4 to 5 years, every year. They do have a slight discount if you go to a longer, more than a 1-year term, but we as a board have never felt that comfortable going into a 3 to 5 year commitment with a software provider where our service and our satisfaction aren't exactly where we would like it to be. But again, there's not a lot of options. And if they say to you, here's your increase, and again, there's only 2 or 3 certified vendors in New York State, basically you are limitless as far as you're trying to find something different, but there isn't any options for you. So the increases have been coming at that pace for quite some time. Again, it's hurry up and wait. Maybe the state will come up with their own plan and it will be free. It would save the Stock County about $60,000 a year. But at this point, we're all just dealing with a vendor or three that control the market, if you will.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I'll wrap it up by saying I appreciate, Brian, Luz, what you guys do. I'm proud of Chautauqua County's Board of Elections. I defend you a lot on the street.
We defend ourselves daily.
It's usually just stuff that I don't know where people come up with it.
The internet.
At the internet,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't care what they did in Tallahassee, Florida. That's not Chautauqua County. And but I really appreciate what everybody does and the integrity. And it's a good thing. I think we all feel that way, so.
I would also like to thank you all, because I was an employee there many, more than 20 years ago, I can say that. And the way things have
They
changed.
invented the voting machine, he or she.
Probably, yeah. But the way things have changed and the mandates that have come through between technology improvements and what the state wants, I have to say, out of all the departments I can think of, this is one that has had to evolve probably more than most. So thank you.
We can appreciate that, and we can honestly tell you there's been over 275 new election laws since 2019, and all of them are a burden, if you will, to us. Again, I'm not bad-mouthing the fact that there's certain things that are incorporated that are helping people, but in general, the burden it's been on us to provide those services, and 275 election laws is outrageous. It is just way too much change, way too much fast, and kudos to our staff and everybody who comes in and just does whatever they have to get the job done, because it's like I always say, it's like turning McDonald's into a 5-star restaurant. It is insane that they would ask us to completely change everything we do on a yearly basis. You know, the best one is early voting. You know, be for it or against it. Early voting's here to stay. They started with 60 hours. We barely got our feet in the water, and they raised it to 72 hours. And I was like, whoa, let us get good at what we do. But that, it falls on deaf ears, and they just change and keep moving things. So, again, I'm for everybody voting. I'm for the process, but they need to allow the boards, all the local boards, 62 counties, to at least catch their breath. And that's not happening. They are just continually evolution. So thanks for the shout out. And it has been a hassle.
Good job. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, we find a break. It's 5 minutes to 2.
Are we supposed to do a break?
We have 5 minutes till the next one.
Do you need a break?
Sam, I don't think you left up there all day.
No, I think you got me all the rest of today and all Thursday.
Okay, good, okay. I didn't realize.
This is like the
Usually,
Academy Awards. What is the role of the county clerk would be?
I did work on the budget, by the way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know.
Larry used to bring like 10 people in here. Larry would bring 10 people in here. Weights and measures, the historian, everybody.
This is all okay.
Are we doing this? This is what we're gonna do from now on?
Well, I guess we'll see how we go and go from there.
Okay, good.
Oh, what you're saying is we're ahead of schedule.
We are ahead of schedule.
Oh, okay. But we're not gonna take a 45-minute break, or a 4-minute break.
Fine.
Well, we will, because people are taking it. right. We will continue on with the county clerk budget.
And Sam Zafuto, Deputy Director of Finance, here for the County Clerk's Office. We can kind of go over the overview of the FTEs if you would like. Unfortunately, there is no representation of the clerk's office this afternoon, so I will be handling this for him. at
Just
this
gonna
time.
say that, so thank you for saying that.
Not a problem. So to start with the FTEs, there is a increase. This increase is at motor vehicles. This is a retiree, as we've kind of mentioned all throughout the morning of some of the recruitment issues. They did have a retiree that did come back, has been willing to work, so that person's on as we continue recruitment, trying to fill all the spots. Unfortunately, in the case of the DMV, I do not have the current roster of what they have filled or do not, so I'll have to get that from the department, but that person is back. Obviously, I think you saw a month or two ago, they actually had to close doing staffing issues, so that's the reason for that, but that's not a permanent increase. That's kind of a temporary situation. The rest of it remains flat. And then going through just the different organizations of the county clerk, motor vehicles, and weights and measures. As we do get to weights and measures, I will ask for an amendment at that time. We do have some revenue that we had removed that we do need to add back into weights and measures. So when we get to there, we can discuss. And I will hope you would propose an amendment at that time to increase the revenue. So starting with the actual county clerk's office, it is obviously a little bit different because it's a revenue driver for them. So the contractual line is going up by, or not contractual, but the expenses by $25,000. The majority of that is related to basically payroll costs through the union contract or benefits. There is a small increase through the contractual line of $10,000 year to year. But really the raises are, and in full disclosure, the position, one of their positions, which was a principal account clerk, moved to finance, to DPF. And they're currently recruiting for that, but it is gonna be at a higher title. I believe instead of a grade 14, it's gonna be a 17 as they work through the backfill, so. And then on the projection for the county clerk, I do have one error. I caught the revenue for the ARPA project for the amendment, but I did not catch the expense. So the projected expenses should also be increased by $105,000 for the current ongoing ARPA project. And I didn't know if you wanted me to go through all three of them and then with questions, or just start with the clerk's office. And,
I have
We've
some
got
questions.
just-
Yep.
We'll just go as we go.
Sure.
Sam, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
and I apologize if you're filling in and not able to answer these, but looking at the detail, on page 2 of 9, account 4,000, mileage reimbursement management, going up 150%.
Yeah, the intention of the clerk's office was more training with newer staff coming in, some newer management staff to take some advantages of some changes in the clerk's office to go to more conferences. So there'd be an increased expense in mileage traveling in conferences. That's the reason. That actually is a reduction from the initial budget. The clerk's office was initially proposing a $2,500 increase to this line item. So we did already reduce this down at one point.
And then on the next page, near the top, account 4730, subscriptions, memberships, going up 200%.
That one, I don't remember exactly what membership there was a new membership she was gonna, I'm talking about Emily, the deputy commissioner, so I'd have to get back with her to see exactly what that increase was. But I do remember us discussing as we worked on it. I don't want to misspeak with exactly what it is.
Sure. Okay.
Sam, I have a question.
Sure.
In regards to the revenue.
Yep.
So last year during budget season, I remember the clerk trying to adjusted some fee costs and things of that nature, and changed the way that they were gonna do a few different things. I see we're gonna come up about 16,000 short in the revenue. Is it just not meeting some of those targets? Is there a specific reason? And I noticed we didn't really adjust for that. We're just gonna keep.
Yeah, because we were going to be very close to where we finished this year so that's the reason we kept it. I would have to get with the department exactly on the fees they bring in. I mean, to see where we're actually at the end of September too, to see if that projection has changed. In the day-to-day, I know there are some different opportunities, some different ways to take revenue online instead of, so there are some different generations that they're having down there. It would just, their office would be better to speak to the actual day-to-day operations of bringing the revenue in.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question. Could you reiterate what the changes you believe need to be made are?
All right, so this would be revenue for the weights and measures division. The change on here, as you'll note, it says grant not expected in 2025, expired on 3/31/24. The legislature is going to see a resolution extending that grant for 5 more years in the October meeting. It's been pre-filed. So that was kind of a miscommunication during the budget process, but it is going before you in October. It's a petroleum quality program funding. It's 43,710 split out over 5 years. So the goal or hope would be to restore that budgeted revenue line from last year back in at the same amount this year. Or actually a little bit higher, because it really comes out to about $8,000 a year is the expectation of the grant.
Could you let us know what revenue account and the exact amount that you would propose be increased?
All right, so that would be account A 6610 R 308 9000. And I would propose a amendment to increase the revenue by up to $8,000 for 2025.
So that's something we're acting on.
Oh.
We need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
We got a motion. Lisa, motion, made a motion.
I'll make that second.
Second by Travis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Done.
By the amount of 8,000?
A lot of $8,000 changes today.
8,000's a magic number.
Pretty consistent.
Three
It's a magic
times.
number. Thank you.
Just put a 0 at
All right.
All right, so then looking at the DMV, it is kind of the same story, obviously. They have had, and that's why the projection is below budget for personal services. They've had some recruitment issues there. Budgeting for all the positions in, obviously, the increases are through the CBA contractual increases. The benefits are the same of what pulled in. And there is minor increases for training and travel expense, which was something that their office was very interested in training and kind of getting back out. And as much knowledge as we changed staff over, and that was kind of the driver of that. And then the revenue remained the same. However, initially looking at the budget, I was a little concerned about that number, but we have received some positive information on the DMV revenue, and it does look like we're going to come in very close or at budget this year. I was a little skeptical of raising it because I was a little concerned that we would see that number, but the initial correspondence they've received from the state looks like we're trending at least to the budget number we have for 2024 currently.
Questions? Okay.
And then the next page is the former records management department that has been moved in, so that is just kind of a placeholder to show you the 2023 actuals. And then we do get to weights and measures, and this is kind of the same story. Obviously, there's the 2 employees for weights and measures. The increases are the contractual increases. The same, obviously, the insurance costs, wherever those adjustments are. The main increase contractually is there's a vehicle that the county owns, a truck for weights and measures. The intention is to lease a new vehicle to get something a little bit more modern. Our fleet manager for the county is currently working on it, so I'm more than confident in the number for the lease expense. It's just a change. They've had depreciation. This is just kind of a changeover for a new vehicle for the weights and measures division. And then this would be the department. We just added the revenue back in, basically at that point in time of the 8,000 to go along with the shared services that come in for them.
Questions? All right.
And then the last tab is just the old historian department, which is now under the county exec's office, starting in 2024.
No questions on that one. I could have done that. Questions, comments, concerns? If not, thank you, Sam. That's a world's record. All right.
Did you say the historian moved to the county executive's
Yes,
budget?
starting in
I was saying,
2024.
I know we just hired one a few months
Yep.
ago.
Yeah, no, his expenses are now recorded under the county executive's office.
Are you doing county executive too?
Yes,
Are you doing legislature?
yes,
Are you doing county attorney?
yes.
Let's
Yeah, I am
go.
assigned to the,
What are we standing around here for?
Are you the
well, there are more. It's not just me for the rest of
the
it.
man
Oh,
behind
oh,
it?
oh,
He was
well,
planning on
well,
being here.
here.
Now we can take it.
County executive. What time is it?
It's like 2:01.
You
He
could-
only took a minute.
You could maybe move on to the legislature budget. If you, unless you want a break.
Hate to take it out of order.
I'll say we've taken the paid vacation day. Don't rush this too
Can
soon.
we, can we let the county executive know we're ready?
You can take his time. We're gonna be on number 9, which is the next tab.
Do you notice that, like, the recruitment at all for the clerk's office is,
I
what's the hold up there, just the people?
It was changing the title takes some time to go through the civil service process, because instead of just doing a direct refill, you've got to go in and create a new position, get it actually graded, which takes, that just takes time, then go through the refill, so that's kind of, I believe the delay that's happened there was trying to, with a restructure, to work, someone who could work more on grants or chase like book repair grants and stuff like that, so.
Yeah.
So the idea was the higher title, because it's just kind of actually assisting them to bring revenue in.
Just, it's quite a process.
Having done it myself, once you start writing the duty statement, because then they've got to look at it, see exactly what it is, and place it in the title correctly, and so it's a lot more extra steps doing it, when you go that route.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. We learned his lessons 3 years ago when he said, Remember that? Yeah. Yeah. I figured, maybe I'll say something. Because I see they amended the 2024 by adding, so it's not showing up. Yeah. Yeah. Just so he, I just wanted to know. Yeah.
Ready.
Can you just state your name, please?
PJ Wendell, County Executive.
Thank you. Start with the FTEs or whatever you want to do.
All right, so,
Yep, well, we can start with the FTEs, they are remaining the exact same, there is no change year to year in the FTEs, for the county executive's office.
Okay.
And then just going kind of down through the line detail, obviously, it's the same story, obviously, there are, union employee, or actually, we don't. We do have one union budgeted position in there, and then the management increases, so because it is the one part-time. There's a small increase contractually, and then the health insurance obviously is where those come in at. We do have the same amount of money that's basically, through the occupancy tax, that's the funding for the historian position that's now under the county executive's office. And there's just minor contractual changes through his budget.
Pretty straightforward.
Questions, comments, concerns?
So am I to understand that the historian position partially funded by occupancy tax is actually fully funding the historian position?
The 15,000 is from the occupancy tax, and then, yes, the remaining 15,000 comes from my budget.
There's no expense showing up under historian.
That's got the detail for A 7510, everything's under the actual county executive's office now.
Okay, so that was pulled up under the county executives.
Yeah, I believe they have the backup for the A 7510 to match that other tab for the prior year.
Okay.
Actually, last year we had 15,900, so we actually decreased that $900.
Yeah, that was a donation, which was expected donation for the historian. I do not actually, I don't think we've received all of that to date at this point.
Right?
So would that mean that there's $30,000 for the historian included in the county executive base pay line?
That is correct. That's where it was in 2024 and 25.
Okay, so the fact that it's going up next year by 17,596 means other positions are going down.
Where do you see that? The historian's staying the same.
County executive base pay,
Is 384.49.
yes, and that's going down from this year by 17,596. So if 30,000 of the 384,489 is for the historian,
Because it's increasing it by 17,000.
it's increasing it by
Yeah.
17,000,
Okay.
but it should be increasing it by 30,000 for the historian alone.
Okay, I get what you're saying. But the historian, I believe, is already in the already in the base pay for 2024 under A 1230, so then it's just the minor increase.
Okay, so it was already in
In there.
2024 budget under the county executive's line. Okay, thank you.
I think we answered this, but the historian will be funded every year
Yes. Mhm.
by occupancy.
What's that?
By
Yes,
occupancy.
yeah.
tax. Okay.
Half of it'll be occupancy tax, the remaining will be from the.
I think I knew
office.
that, but now I know it for sure.
It goes back to before, maybe question as to why the dramatic increase, because what we had was somebody that was doing records management, and they just tagged a little bit more on, and so technically, the budget for the historian was only about $2,500, so the argument would be, well, they never were able to differentiate what was records management and what was historian time. So as we moved that back under, the county executive's office, through a recommendation actually from our previous historian, we funded it half and half, and we increased and just focused totally on. And just, a bit of information, our historian. So there was an email going around that was a buzz, about 14 voting machines from the city of Jamestown. Multiple emails came back, assisted, what are we gonna do with these? And there wasn't a clear detail as to what those voting machines were. So my assumption was they were 14 AVM voting machines that we've seen for the last 30 or 40 years. Wrong. They date back to we're not sure actually when it was actually built. If you open the back door, the nearly perfect picture that's on the back is 1920s era clothing of the gentleman setting up the voting machine. The one we have downstairs that will be on loan to the Robert H. Jackson Center, we were a little excited at first because it had FDR. You have a voting machine that still has a tag, but it's FDR Junior. So we we believe that those elections strips were from about the 1940s or 50s. The machine dates back just because of the construction, the hand painting of the patents on the side. We're saying early 1900s. Of those 14, they do actually have a machine that still has the original tape of Adelaide Stevenson and Williams Jennings Bryan running against William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt for president, vice president. Because of the vast experience of our historian and his connections, he has been working with a professor from the University of Virginia, and they have offered those machines to the Smithsonian, and they are still working. So what I thought were just, it wasn't clear as to what they were. I figured 14 boat anchors, we didn't know they were just there. Really had a significant historic value. Nobody wanted them. They are very heavy, pales in comparison. These new ones are ridiculously light. Actually, the new ones are all computerized. But it just, they are not AVM machines. I don't believe they were made, the ones we have were made in Jamestown. But nonetheless, they have been, kept in historic record for the city of Jamestown. So the historian has done a tremendous amount. And quite honestly, the very first day we introduced him to the legislature, actually to our department heads, he went out with about 15 things that happened in county history on that day. So he is a wealth of knowledge. We did get a letter from his sister saying that we have made him the happiest man in the world, and he's done a tremendous job thus far. He's well known as a historian, but really doing a phenomenal job, as far as representing the county, making time, gives us a monthly report as to where he's been, what he's done, et cetera. So really can't say enough. I think we've really done we've hired a really, really good historian. Really excited.
On the detail on page 2 of 3, the communications, it's 8, 12, 30, 42, 40. What is the communications?
That's traditionally either county cell phones, depending upon departments, it may be your internet connection, or it may be actually the county cell phones that are issued to, like the county executive, I'm assuming.
Thank you. Is there a specific cost associated with media in the sense of portraying communications? So like membership fees or anything where publicity is in promotion, would that be more spit? I guess, for our, press releases or that sort of thing, is there much cost associated to that, or getting communication or publications out, or?
No, that's just all.
It's just all managed through the internet, and it's primarily done through your office, correct?
Correct, yep.
It's just all personnel services and equipment and stuff that we already use and utilize for that.
100%. Yeah, it's all electronically, digitally generated and shared, yeah.
Would your office be able to handle more of that without much added expense?
Depends on the work, where it's coming from. Right now, it's hard to say because, there's different projects, different things that our media information officers are involved in. So it's not, we have our press releases, communications, but if anybody would have happened to, I shouldn't say would have, if you happened to watch Monday Night Football last week and saw the CHQ Transit commercial that was done entirely by Justin Gould, that was all done in-house. It's getting regional exposure. I think the quality is second to none. I've seen it multiple times. Depending on how much more work, there potentially could be, but right now, what we have focused on is all media communications to come through the county executive's office. If you want to put out a press release, public service announcements, anything along those lines to be generated through. We're also asking the media to contact us, should you need to talk to a department head. That way it's a centralized, we know what's happening, and the departments have been good and I believe, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, media has a good grasp of that, is to contact you for press conferences, release, questions, media interviews, et cetera.
Yeah, every now and then, some media outlets who aren't from the area will reach out to, say, the health department, but they always give it back to me, just so that I can update it.
Sure, thank you.
quite honestly, to, you know, and added, we do have a very significant trial that's going to be, that being dealt with here in Chautauqua County. You know, Justin in his media information officer position, has dealt with international news media, not only from here in the US, but across the globe, as inquiries come in. So whenever there's what some would see as a small press conference is anything but, you know, there's a great deal of international media that's involved, connecting, making sure it's done well. I've had several compliments from individuals, both internally and externally from the community, stating that the county's image going forward has been, they've noticed a difference, didn't know what it was, and I said, we've hired our media information officer, and they said, you can tell the image that the county has going forward has always been is top-notch, very clear, very understandable, very professional, so I think we made a good choice.
Anything else?
That's all I have. Pretty simple.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for coming in.
My pleasure.
Oh, Sam, don't go anywhere.
No, I was just gonna slide down a little bit. I knew you guys were coming.
You just do it to get a little exercise.
Yeah. Get my stand on my watch.
You are.
Gotta find a line detail question. On page 2, line
We're number one.
number 1.
We are the.
Please state your name for the folks at home.
Pierre Chagnon, Chairman of the Legislature.
Olivia Lee, Clerk of the Legislature.
Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Start with FTEs. Okay. I can start, I can present the legislative board and the clerk legislative board, and then I'll let, the chairman and Sam explain the conflict administration and assigned council organizations, if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay. Alright. So we can go through the FTEs. The .09 decrease to the legislative board FTEs is due to the retirement of the financial analyst position, and her allocations were removed. So the clerk position will be absorbing those duties, and it will be stated in the appointing resolution during the organizational meeting. All right, the clerk legislative board, .04 FTE decrease is due to allocating part of the clerk salary to the conflict administration organization, right?
Yep, and it all ties out to, the financial analyst, the total reduction of .14 was her total FTE spread across multiple divisions.
So the next page is the tentative budget summary for the legislative board. The total decrease is $6,614, and it's mostly due to the retirement of the financial analyst. And next, on the clerk legislative board summary page, you can see a decrease of $1. The decrease of personnel services is, again, due to the retirement of the financial analyst. The increase in the contractual expenses is due to the expected increase of legal advertising and printing in 2025. We've had consistent increases in local laws and public hearings, which are mandated to publish, and we're expected to print multiple journals of proceedings next year, because we've been behind for the last few years, after the pandemic. We're also due to replace a computer in our office, which we already put off 1 year. So, that's it.
Question on that. So the publications, you print a copy of the publications and proceedings for each legislator, or just to keep on track, or you just print so many of them?
We printed, I believe, maybe 10 or 12 of them last time we printed them.
Okay,
Only some legislators wanted them.
okay. I know that the clerk's office has been working on digitizing them also.
The
And they'll-
clerk's office keeps a physical copy, the law department keeps a physical copy, our office keeps 2 or 3, and then the rest go to legislators.
And digital.
Yes, we also keep digital copies.
I know that they have a machine down there, and they've been working on digitizing them, so that way they're available in a different format for whatever that's,
Yeah, Emily
Link
took
to
on
it.
that project for
yeah,
us.
which is good. How much of that would you say is publication?
I'm not sure. So that's. Almost all of it.
Yeah. Between legal advertising and printing and duplicating, that was pretty much the increase. But the increase to print, under that, the increase was 2,000 for basically materials or print and duplication through the contractor for the county.
I see it's the legal advertising is going up, it's going up $2,800. Yeah, so it's up to 6,000, so. It's a
Every
lot of
time
money
we
to
have a
advertise.
local law, I have to publish it in the newspaper 4 times. So we've had a lot of local laws the last few years.
Sorry, this is it.
And if you're ready, we can move on to the, basically assigned counsel, and then now what is being also called the conflict admin. We did have a little slight change in the budget this year, which was a separation of the conflict administration and then what is the assigned counsel for the conflict, which is the family court, the criminal court for misdemeanors and felonies. Part of the real reason is that, and what you see in Department A 1162.1120 conflict admin, that is through the Harrell Herring grant. That is basically a funded piece. And this was to separate that out to keep a kind of clearer picture of what we're seeing through the Harrell Herring grant to what we're basically recouping now through the assigned counsel. And there's a reduction based on basically what I've seen us processing for the family and criminal court cases as well. In addition, for the assigned counsel, we are budgeting for revenue for next year. One of the things that my department or my group of people has been doing is actually working on making sure we secure the revenue for the county through this program. When they made the rate increase to $158, the state actually put in a mechanism to actually fund part of that at $41.50, basically per hour, or $49 depending upon the type of case. So at this point, we're finalizing all the 2023 submissions within time. So we basically, it was effective on April 1st of last year. We will have not lost a single penny for last year. And then into this year, it was unknown whether that was going to continue. It is definitely continuing into next year. And while they wouldn't obviously put that in writing, it appears to be a year-to-year continuation of that funding. So that's another reason why we separated it, to get a clearer picture of what we bring in for revenue from basically the family and criminal cases that we're working on.
Sam has done a terrific job of straightening all this out and making sure that, as he said, that we're getting the revenue that we have been promised. A lot of record keeping, a lot of digging. Sam has done a terrific job with this.
Yep, and I want to also just credit the team of people working for me, because we've basically had to go manually, invoice by invoice, looking for 158 hours and how many, starting over a year ago. So it's been quite a project. They've done a great job of kind of getting this for me together, too.
Good to hear. All right. Moving right along.
So if you look at the total for conflict administration and assigned counsel, the local share is going down by $340,000. What that is a reflection of is that the increase in the staffing at the public defender's office has, through the Hurrah Herring Grant as well as through county funding, has reduced the amount of conflicts that they have. So they're able to absorb more of the conflicts than they could before. So that's been a major reduction in the expense that has been coming to the conflict administration.
How have they reduced it? Have they changed the rules, or?
Think about this, if you have 3 attorneys
Right.
and you have a family come in with husband, wife, and 4 kids, you need 6 attorneys to represent them.
Mhm.
Because you can't have one attorney representing multiples. So now they've got to come up with a couple more attorneys, and so they look to conflict administration. Now, instead of having 3 attorneys, they've got 9 attorneys. And sometimes attorneys have conflicts with a case,
Mhm.
so it just, more attorneys reduces the number of conflicts.
Gotcha.
How'd I do, Anna?
We're gonna talk later, Peter. It's not you.
All right, I'll ask the basic question. When we're talking about conflicts, what are we talking about?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, you go ahead, Anna.
Okay, so, to those of you who don't know me, I'm Anna Morgan, I'm the county attorney, and, I worked at the PD's office, I worked in family court, I'm here now, I'm done with social services, we'll see where I end up next. So, when I was in the PD office, one of the, conflicts that we would have is, for example, when you have co-defendants. 2 people are smuggling drugs together in one car. Both of them are charged with similar or the same crime. Public defender's office or an assigned attorney will only represent one person. The other person needs to have their own counsel. That's a conflict. So if this person is referred to us, and it is because that's the county process, so everybody's referred to the public defender's office for the eligibility determination. The public defender's office needs to pick one and say the other needs to be outsourced. So we need an assigned counsel. Conflicts can get a little more complicated than that. Some conflicts take the whole office, so it's not enough just to give it to a different attorney. But I think what the PD office does very well is that they try, if it's not the same event that happened, if this person now that we conflicted comes back within 3 years, and it's now in a different court, they say, listen, guys, we're not gonna waste county money, we're gonna represent this person now because it's no longer the same case. And I think that's what you were implying, Pierre, for the most part. I think now that they have the staff for a lot of night courts and a lot of other courts, I think they can figure it out that way a little
Yes.
better.
Yes.
But on the family court side, it was my office who also took over the custody and visitation, so we took a lot of your costs too. And that's gonna be something that I'm gonna talk about in my own period, so I just want credit, that's all.
Oh, you wanted to take credit, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
Wow. Thanks, that's good.
Sure.
Dan?
Well, yeah, and my point, I knew last year, different county attorney gave us the, assumptions that the office could, effectively take over some of that, workload. And, just curious if that is still okay and still the plan moving forward.
You'll hear about that when the county
Surely.
attorney presents her budget.
Okay, because I knew it ties in with our budget here
Yes.
and in this specific one.
Yes.
So it was a question I had in the back of my mind, so,
Give me 5 minutes.
She has a plan for this.
all right.
Anything else?
No,
So
sir.
our legislative staff does a wonderful job of managing the office and managing the expenses. I can't give them enough credit, but as I said earlier, Sam has been a terrific assistance to all of us in the offices. Credit to everyone.
Good job.
Make my job easy.
I didn't even get to ask you on the detail, man.
You can ask me a break.
All right, thank you very much. Last but not least, county attorney.
The different one.
First thing we do is state our name to folks at home?
If I have to. My name is Anna Morgan. It's nice to meet you all. Hello. My budget is relatively simple. As you will see, there are two major changes. One is I'm asking for an additional assistant county attorney to be hired, and that ties into the conversation that we just heard from Pierre and Olivia. County Attorney's Office has taken over a lot of the assigned counsel for family court, because we are allowed to do that. So we now have a subsection of the office that deals with custody and visitation cases in family court and domestic violence disputes that happen in family court as well. We have one attorney designated to that position right now. We started relatively slow just to see, how many cases are we gonna be getting from family court? Can our office sustain that? One attorney right now from only one judge, and we have two in family court, has about 70 open cases, so 70 at all times. And about a month ago, we were approached by the second judge asking that they start sending their workload as well. We have very good and experienced attorneys, so a load of 70 cases for one is doable. I am usually their backup. If they have conflicts, I go to court, I cover it for them, it's not a problem. We're up there a lot. But now that we're starting to get more cases, and we already have, I think, between 20 and 40 from the other judge, we need another person. I know that, I'm told that the county attorney's office has not increased their staff in quite a long time. I think they have always been around the 5 attorneys, 5th being the county attorney. Now that we have taken this workload, we need more people. And I'll be quite honest with you, I probably would love to have 3 additional attorneys, but 1 will do for now. We have experienced staff in the county's attorney's office. But, and this is now an introduction to a relatively different topic, I am looking to have the county attorney's office take over the legal division of the social services. So there are a separate law office right now. That's the job that I did before this job. I was the social services attorney. They are currently under Carmelo Hernandez. They are under my legal supervision. That's how the office was created decades ago when they decided to be a relatively independent office from the county's attorneys. I am looking to merge the 2 offices. One is to reduce costs. I will be very plastic with this example, but right now we're spending a lot of money on duplicated books, and law books are very expensive. We're talking $500, $900 for a book. Is it needed? Yes. Does every attorney need it? Yes. But now we're duplicating between the 2 offices because sometimes it's just necessary. If we're in one particular office and hopefully downstairs in one physical office as well, I'm assuming and hoping that little things like that will go down. I am assuming that then we can rotate staff a little more, with a little more flexibility. I will give you an example. Mr. Tom Rankin, who's the assistant county attorney, has been on loan with the social services for a while now because of the staffing shortages we had over there. It turned out that we had a very complex litigation in family court. It's a neglect and abuse case that the county filed. 4 attorneys had a conflict of interest and could not touch the case. I was told by Judge Sullivan that I'm not allowed to touch the case either, and that effectively left 2 relatively unexperienced attorneys there who could not do this themselves. So Tom Rankin agreed, and he's been over there for the last 3 months supervising that litigation, but now that means that I'm missing him over here. We will have some maternity leaves. We are at the stage right now where when an attorney is out sick for longer than a day or 2, we see that in our workload. It spills onto everybody else. Not everything we do, please don't take this the wrong way, we're not brain surgeons. Not everything we do is super urgent or super important, but our job is based on deadlines, and we have to meet and honor those deadlines or there will be consequences. You will see that we still have not filled the paralegal position. And that's something that I think you discussed with Ms. Makowski earlier. It's a problem, whether we don't have qualified people, if they're not interested, I don't know, but I know that this office has been looking for probably the past year and a half. We have nobody. We are not very competitive when it comes to attracting attorneys either, I'll be very honest with you. Other departments have more money, they have quicker response time. It has happened 3 or 4 times that I am forwarded, resume for an attorney from HR. By the time I call them within 3 hours, they already tell me, oh, I already have an offer from the PD's office, or I already met with them. So we're trying to be creative and grab either kids straight out of law school, kids who are just taking the bar exam, bringing them in and making them maybe lifelong employees, training them how to do work, and then hopefully retaining them for a longer period of time. Another aspect of this, now that we're kind of shifting things a little bit in the office, is that one of the second increase in the budget is outside counsel expenses. Once these 2 offices come together, there's just certain things that we will need to outsource. I'll give you an example right now. If an attorney comes to family court and they are demanding, let's say that their social services is filing for a neglect case, and they want our mental hygiene's records because Chautauqua County Mental Hygiene is providing services to one of the respondents. The question is then, who is then representing mental hygiene before the court? Because they need to have representation as well. So this is where we kind of play the game of, one time it's county attorney, the other time it's DSS. Once we become one office, I would strongly, because of the professional ethics, like to outsource those kind of cases. I don't think that's gonna cost us too much, because I think we're gonna be working with the attorneys that we already have on retainer, and this was a contract that was entered before my time. We have a law firm that is at our disposal on a monthly basis, but only for non-court related things, for a fixed fee. Everything that's court-related, or it's a litigation, arbitration, anything else, they charge us, they're discounted, but still an hourly fee of $200. And it can rack up, and that's what Sam and I were looking through. Now that we're processing more of their invoices, now that they're more involved than they were when Pat was here, we're seeing an increase. So we wanted to be sure that we can cover it without any adjustments. That's about it. Questions?
Well,
Comments?
I will just quickly add too, because we talked about the DSS attorneys. We did move them all under the county attorney's office. You just do not see them because they are allocated back to DSS, so we don't miss any of the reimbursement or budgeting for that piece. So they're under this office starting on January 1st. It's just allocated over to their respective areas that they're working in currently.
Social services still pays for them, yeah.
And I may have missed the description that you gave, because I would have, may have a different terminology for it.
Okay.
But in years past, we had hired legal aid out of Buffalo to handle indigent services for child custody cases. And they, 2 years ago or whatever, bowed out.
They did.
And so our county attorney at the time was trying to handle that. That became untenable, I guess is the best term. And so I believe you're handling that in a different way now, but that was a substantial expense that was in our previous budgets.
Yeah, and I do apologize, because I had put a note on the front sheet that reflected that, and I think when I formatted it, the printer did not pick that up on this department, because it actually reduces the increase of her local share to like 2%.
Yes,
With that reduction,
yes.
so.
We had to pick a solution.
Yes.
I'll be honest with you, the problem that Chautauqua County has right now is, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this, lack of attorneys, okay? COVID changed a lot. A lot of people retired, a lot of people switch jurisdictions. The state for a very long time was only compensating $75 an hour. And a lot of people just pulled out of the assigned counsel lists. They, despite me expecting otherwise, they did not really come back. And I'm a year-long practitioner in family court. When I was in private practice, my law firm carried 200 plus cases, just because there's 10 attorneys up there. And then we constantly keep seeing the same people on cases, which raises conflicts. But also, at $158 an hour, it raises the cost. And this is just my very loose estimate, but I would probably tell you that an attorney on assigned counsel list charges between $1,500 and $2,500 for a case. Right now, my office carries about 100. So 100 times that's more or less the value of the cases that we're not having to pay assigned counsel. When it comes to legal aid or different nonprofits, they're present still in Chautauqua County. The last one who dealt with these cases was Legal Assistance of Western New York, or Law New York as we call it. They dropped the contract and they dropped the grant. And despite us reaching out, despite them hiring new people, they never renewed the interest to be involved. Their grant right now is very, very small and focused only on domestic violence cases. But if there's no domestic violence, they don't want to touch it. There is nobody out there who was interested. It's my understanding. And I know Pat was looking as well, but at the same time, this looked to us to be the most cost-effective way to do this. Now, to be quite honest with you, the way I'm covering this right now is I have a social services attorney who is now here to cover this, because when I was the social services attorney, I managed to hire more attorneys. And now I have a person who's out there who can do this work, but they're now on loan to the county's attorney's office. That's kind of the game we're playing right now, because why wouldn't we? If they know the job, of course, if Tom Rankin's over there, they come to us. But at this point, I have no more people to swap, and that is why I need a new position. Does that make sense?
I was just trying to add more,
Sure.
my perspective as to supporting what you're doing. And dealing with some very difficult problems that we've been, as the county has been trying to deal
Yes.
with for many years.
Yes.
And so I think that your plan now is a solid plan. There's some increased cost to it, but it's addressing issues that have been ongoing for years. So I commend you. I just wanted to add some clarity to that.
Sure, thank you. Yes.
Question. So this attorney that we need to hire, do they have to take a test, or do you just hire them off the street?
They have to take that one big test, the bar exam.
I was assuming they
Right?
had passed.
And pass.
Yes.
Which is a big
I'm
one.
talking,
We're not gonna
No.
hire them beforehand and hope they
I
pass.
think you could take it twice.
Provisionally?
Yeah, provisional lawyer.
Right. I mean, I've heard worse.
I have hired provisional attorneys before.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't work for me too long. No.
Well, actually, no, I was hired as provisional too, because in social services, you do have to pass the civil service
here you
exam.
are.
Right?
Yeah.
You know why? Because it wasn't an exam. They just look at your resume and then they give you random points and they
But
say you're fine.
Seriously, is this someone you just hired? Do they
I
take a
just hired
civil
them.
service test?
No, not for the county attorney.
Okay.
Social
That's what I
ser-
wanted to hear.
Correct. So no. So honestly, the approach that we're doing, we finally managed to get one interview before the PD's office. Don't tell them that. But we're looking to hire a very young graduated attorney, or not attorney, lawyer, as a law graduate. So we have that position as well. So that is one of those, when I say we want to retain them, we want them to come in, we want them to start working within the limitations that they can before they become attorneys. And then if they like it, and we like them, and there's no issues, then they can slide right into this role. But it's not going to be then from hiring 3 months of training somebody new. This is already going to be a person
Great.
from within the office. So hopefully that's the path for this one. and then fill in the gaps with either another law graduate after that, or the paralegal open position that we have, because we kind of do need somebody at this point, to cover the gaps that attorneys just miss. But that will happen when it happens. It is what it is.
Well, I'll echo what Pierre said.
Mhm.
There's gonna be an increase in spending, but
Mhm.
it's nice to see a plan. You can go a long ways with a plan.
Yes.
Right, so
It's a
hopefully
plan
it's
to
the right
help
one.
people.
Yes,
So that,
Right.
I mean, it's still a service to the people.
yes, correct,
And
correct.
we really don't have a whole lot of choice. We gotta do something, so.
Who knows, maybe a nonprofit walks into our lives tomorrow and says, you know what, guys, we're totally gonna cover all this for you for free. In that case, fine, but what are I mean, it's just not, we're in that stage in the county where there's just certain people are missing, and we can see that now, and it's not fair to have the public be represented by somebody who's overworked, or who didn't have time to talk to them, or sees them in court for the first time. You know what I mean? Like, then it kind of trickles down to what kind of service are we providing? Like, you know, the county has certain standards that we're to follow as well. So that's roughly the plan.
And you guys haven't seen, there hasn't been an increase to this department for a long, long time. My only
Sure.
thing that, my challenge is when I call,
Mhm.
I want somebody to answer the phone. That's,
Oh, that's a big ask, you know, Bob, today.
Okay. So,
no,
couple
I'm
things.
kidding. I'm sort of kidding, but.
But not really, right? I would tell you a couple things. One, email is probably a better bet
Yes.
than a phone call, just because a lot of us are stuck in court or other proceedings that are sucking out our soul, and we can't really talk to you right now.
No,
But
I
no, but no, it's a legit, we have our devices with us. So if you need us, if there's urgency, please do not hesitate to reach out by email, or if you need a cell phone, we'll give you a cell phone number. That's not a problem at all. But at the same time, I need to, like, right now, I'm the only one today in my office because everybody else is out either putting kids in jail or trying to get visitation for
number?
their clients.
Yeah, on the
I'll
public
flip it
record.
to you later. Pierre has it.
Well, it's
Sure.
been very refreshing.
Yeah.
My time here. I call, I leave a message, I email, and somebody gets back to me within 24 hours.
Isn't that nice, right?
That's very nice.
I appreciate that too from other
my-
departments, so I completely
My,
understand.
my latest story was I called Steve Abdello about
Okay.
a question, a history question.
Uh-huh,
And he graciously answered the phone,
uh-huh.
and he was sitting on the beach in South Carolina. And I went, Steve,
Yes.
you don't need to, no.
No, since you got me, yeah.
Let's get this done. And
Last time I
really-
called him, he was in the Swiss Alps, I
Yeah.
think, about 2 months ago, and also wouldn't let me go. It took a while since I answered.
Yeah.
I hope your
So-
roaming charges are not through the roof.
That's the
but,
service
you know.
we're used to.
Yeah, listen, the problem with the current county attorney you have is that it's only been, what, 4 months? And the second that I think I know exactly what I'm doing, and this is gonna be fantastic, someone walks in with some bizarre problem like, there's a sewer issue, and I'm like, there's something exploded. Can we limit comments on Facebook when people don't like us? It's like, so I'm still,
No, that's the city of Jamestown.
right, or there's that, or, okay, and then those days when PJ leaves and says, you're now the acting county executive, I die a little. I just sit here and I wait, for something not to happen. So hopefully this time next year,
We're glad to have you.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
thank you so much. I'm very
So
happy to be
nothing's
here.
derailed yet, so you must be doing something.
Shh, don't say that. You're gonna jinx it. No, don't say that.
derailment.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's if somebody had told me 10 years ago that I would be sitting here, I probably would be laughing like crazy. I never planned on living here. I never planned on practicing in the United States. I'm European. I am licensed and qualified in Europe. And then I met a husband who's from Bemis Point, New York. And yeah, and then you start, where the hell is Bemis Point, New York? And that's how you
Went to
move.
school with my daughter.
Yeah,
Did he?
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you coach him in soccer?
Yeah, and now it's, I had to go to law school again. That was fun. I had to take the bar exam twice. That was good. But now that I'm here, I really don't wanna relearn any more positions, and I really wanna stay and just excel at what we do as an office, and I think we have great people to do that, so.
Anna, even though it's only been 4 months.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of working with you quite a few times over those 4 months, and I am delighted
Are
to
you?
have you as the county attorney.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What I don't know, I'll figure out, so.
Yes.
Call with any issues. Okay, any other grilling?
Sure. My comments, I'm just thankful, you know, last year I had my skepticisms about the additional work that the office was taking on. And so I'm thankful for the honesty of the department of requiring the extra position this year, because I thought it was needed then.
Did you?
But, I was thankful that the attorney's office also wanted to take on the extra work and see what it required, and actually see what they were getting before moving forward with
Yes.
the recommendation. So thank you for all that and letting it roll through.
Absolutely. I think it worked out perfectly, as you said. I think Pat tested the waters, and now that we have some numbers and we know where we are and what the actual workload is, now please help us.
Well, and I think that the savings that we are experiencing outweigh the cost that we will be experiencing if we add the position, if you can find them. And, you know, I hope that you can find the individuals and fill the positions, because that is very challenging.
It is.
You know, also, I guess on the other side of it is, you know, you're considering hiring the other position, but I know space is a tough situation. I've visited the attorney's office, and you already are making up space.
Correct.
And so, you know, that does pose an issue. Do you have a plan with that?
We have a workstation available. It's not an office. It's for now, it's a desk with everything, you know, a desk needs to have. Do we put in another cubicle? Do we, again, move some people around? Do we maybe have a shared office between attorneys who are constantly in court and we know that they're not present in their office as much? Do we make it, you know, a shared space? The space that the social services attorneys are now using has a very big conference room. And that is something that can always be used. Carmelo Hernandez was very open about his conference room at 2 Academy Street. I can't build space. We were told that when the big move of people happens, that we will be probably downstairs where the HR is right now. And then that is big enough space that it would be adjusted to us, that each attorney would have their own office, each support staff would have their own appropriate workspace, etc. I'll be quite honest with you, if on a temporary basis, I need to hire somebody who may have to share an office or does not have the office of their dreams just yet, need to wait, I would rather do that than wait with the hiring. I know PJ was very accommodating, said we can use the conference rooms here for, you know, as much as we can, but I'll be quite honest with you, the attorney that I'm looking for, the custody and the visitation and family court in general, is an attorney who works out of court. So we already asked the Buildings and Grounds, when they're renovating that space over there, to maybe give us a small office with a computer over there. And for safety reasons, we don't meet clients here, we meet clients in court. A, they go through the metal detector, B, there's sufficient security. Family court is not always a fun place and people are not always rational. And while deep down I understand that, due to the safety of our staff, they're instructed to take any sort of client appointments either over the phone or in person in family court when somebody can react. What that means is that a lot of the times those attorneys are in court 6 hours, 8 hours, 4 hours, it depends. So their work is more, I'm not gonna call it remote, but it's very fluid. We're not caseworkers, but it's kind of close to that, if that makes sense. Is the space an issue? Yes. Can we figure it out? I'm hoping so. I'm hoping. If we have to place one attorney outside of this building and somewhere else, or at a different floor, we'll do that. It's really not that big of a deal. Until then, you know, we all have our computers. That's another thing. So when I was in social services, we made sure that all of the records of social services were digital. including files, including court files. The times of, I have to call somebody to go pick up the file that they now have in their hands because they're sick that day is gone. It's 2024, 2025, we're not doing that. So we started scanning everything into a digital database, that is very rudimentary, we're not paying anything for it, it's not outsourced, it's just Outlook stuff, basically. And I'm doing now the same thing with the county attorney as well. So, A, some of our costs are going down. Two, the amount of boxes with papers that they keep bringing into my office are going down as well, because this is now all digitalized and stuff. But that also means that they can work wherever they are. And I encourage that. If they're in court, there's a computer there as well. They have their laptops. They have stuff with them. So is our need for the traditional office still there? Sure, to a certain degree, because we need peace and quiet for some research and some actual thinking when we do it. But is it necessary for us to wait for it before we can be more productive? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Some people prefer working from home, other people prefer working from court. Some are here at 6 in the morning, others are here at 7 at night. I'm okay with that. That flexibility is fine as long as they have the work product that I need, which for now is pretty good. So hopefully that answers your question. Sorry, I'm rambling.
We good?
I know like in some cases for social services things, the state reimburses.
Mhm.
Do they reimburse any of our legal fees for attorneys for social service cases?
That would be a question for you, Sam.
Yes, they do. That's
They
part of
do,
the
right?
overhead that gets picked up over
Perfect.
there.
So like this new attorney that's gonna be designated
If it's
somewhat.
allocated back, our payroll and our fringe gets, basically, we do a cost allocation, and then at the end, it gets trued up through, I know this because I was over there through the year end, so it gets
Yeah.
trued up at the end of the year through, OCFS.
Okay.
So that is included on what we're claiming, then at the end, as we get close to the end of year end, we have to tie out our wages and our actual fringe costs to basically the estimates we use throughout the course of the year, so that would be through that process.
Okay, so as much as we're taking on a new employee, we're not completely taking on the burden of that payroll.
It depends. If think of it as two ways, and they will have to continue working as separate offices under my joint leadership, but these two offices, are different in the work that they do, but also who pays for them. So the social services, if I bring more attorneys there, then the state pays
Right.
for more of them, okay? So whenever there's a need there, I'm not too worried because I can throw attorneys there and I know we'll be fine. Right now, this side is where I'm missing a person.
Okay.
And it's a combination of factors, but mostly it's this taking over family court. It's a lot. Clients call constantly, they wanna come up, they wanna talk. I don't wanna sound, dismissive, but working with people, and I'm sure you guys know this, is more than just getting the facts and then coming to court and saying 3 sentences. They wanna be heard. They want somebody to know their story. Sometimes you're stuck for an hour and a half listening to it. Is it relevant? Probably not. But does it help? Yes. But that's an hour and a half of county time. That's an hour and a half where that attorney's not available.
Yep.
That's why we're shooting for another.
So much easier on the phone. Here first.
Huh?
You gotta email Peter first. Call the office.
Is it gonna be an official request or?
Oh, this is falling apart here.
A little bit.
All right.
Anything
We all
else?
set? Everybody's good? Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I might be young, but I would so much rather pick the phone up and explain it to you. I told Olivia that last week. I called Olivia the other day and just told her I don't wanna email you.
Just gotta confirm that.
anybody have anything for the good of the order,
I don't know,
or for the bad of the order?
maybe.
Or does anybody wanna be out of order?
We in essence saved $24,000 today, so we did.
Would you like to go over your proposed amendments from today
Sure.
before you
Yeah.
adjourn?
That'd be
Could we?
great.
I didn't know if we could.
No, you're not allowed, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so.
Number one.
Number one, I've got, decreasing the .4s, for the IT's department office services in 1610 by $8,000. I have another decrease in .4s in the human resources department for a total of, 8,000 there too. So a total decrease in appropriations of 16,000 for today. And then we have a revenue increase of 8,000. In, A 6610, New York State aid. So you've got 24,000 to the good.
And what do we do,
Does
10?
that cover everything?
were we
Is
yesterday?
everything-
We did 10 yesterday? 10,000?
There were no amendments
There were
yesterday.
there weren't any amendments yesterday.
What was it?
There was a couple of things on the watch list or to consider at the end of the week, but
Okay.
there were no proposed
Hey.
amendments.
Sounds good.
You have a 10 or 11,000 that you wanna change?
Obviously you did.
The what?
I did-
What was the
If
vehicle
there's a
purchase?
proposed amendment,
Oh, it's a lease
you,
of,
there was
goods and
some,
measures.
you know what Terry was talking about?
No.
No, you had one.
What was the vehicle purchase that went to the lease?
That's the IT change.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was the
that's-
IT
that-
change.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the 8,000 IT change.
To make the
Yep.
two fund
Sales, yes, sales tax, but
What I do for lunch?
if we change sales tax in total, I'll just do that all at once.
All right, motion to adjourn?
I'll make it.
Oh, yeah.
Second?
I did make a note of that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
I can understand how to book better.
Thank you, everybody. No, it was a sidebar.